In this first video for measurement of two-dimensional shapes grade 9, we're going to have a look at the perimeter and area of the shapes you did in grade 8. We focused on four main shapes: the square, rectangle, triangle, and circle. Here you can see that to determine the perimeter of a polygon, you simply add up all the side lengths. When it comes to the circumference of a circle, there are two options of formulas you can use. For the area of a square, we have the formula side squared, or side times side, and for a rectangle we work with length times breadth. For the triangle, we work with the formula half multiplied by the base multiplied by the perpendicular height. And finally, for the circle, we have pi times radius squared. Let's have a look at a few examples of where these formulas can be used. Calculate the perimeter and area of each of the following shapes, rounded to 2 decimal digits when necessary. The first shape is a rectangle, and for that the perimeter is equal to 4 plus 6 plus 4 plus 6, which we could also have written as 2 sides of 4 plus 2 sides of 6. The perimeter will be 20 centimeters. For the area of a rectangle, we have the formula length times breadth. Here you now have a choice which of the measurements you make your length and which your breadth. In this case, I will have 4 times 6. So the area is 24 centimeters squared. Remember that area is always the unit squared, where perimeter is only the unit to the power of 1. In example 2, we have a triangle. So to determine the perimeter, we need to add up the lengths of the 3 sides. But now we still need to determine the third side. And for this, you need to realize that you can make use of the theorem of Pythagoras in the right angle triangle and calculate the hypotenuse. So I'm going to start calculating my hypotenuse squared by taking the sum of the two other sides' squares. This will give me 169, and taking the square root of that will give me my hypotenuse as 13 meters. So now I can determine the perimeter of this shape, and that will be 11 plus 20 plus 13, so the perimeter is 44 meters. For the area of a triangle, we have the formula a half times the base times the perpendicular height. In this triangle's case, our base will be 11 meters. The perpendicular height will be the height drawn perpendicular to this same plane to the highest point, or in this case, the furthest point of the triangle from this side. That means that our perpendicular height in this case will be 12 meters. This means that the area will be a half times 11 times 12, and that will give us 66 meters squared. Remember that if at any point you feel like you need a more in-depth look at what we are doing, you can watch the grade 8 videos on measurement as well. In example 3, we have a circle and the diameter is given as 15 meters. Remember that we do not have a perimeter for circles, but a circumference. So when determining the circumference of the circle, I can use the formula pi times diameter, and that means we will have pi times 15. Remember that pi is an actual value, so you can leave your answer as 15 times pi. That pi, of course, rounded is 3,14. In this case, our instruction was to round to 2 decimals, and that means we're going to use the pi button on our calculators, which means you'll have to press shift and then the times 10 to the power of x button. Rounded to 2 decimals, this will then be 47,12 meters. For the area of a circle, we have the formula pi times radius squared. Remember that the diameter of a circle consists of 2 radii, and therefore we will make use of half of the diameter, and that will be 7,5 meters. So here we'll substitute pi times 7.5 to the power of 2, and round it to 2 decimals, that will be 176,71 meters squared. In example 4, we now have only half a circle or a semicircle. So when determining the circumference of this semicircle, we'll take the formula for a full circle, but only half of that. Once we've determined this, we have half of the circumference of a normal full circle. But we haven't moved right around our shape. We still need to move back to the point where we started. This means we need to still add a full diameter. So here we'll have a half times pi times the diameter of 8, and then still add another diameter of 8. Rounded to 2 decimals, this will give us 20,57 centimeters. Moving on to the area of this semicircle, we once again start with our full circle formula, pi times radius squared, and multiply by a half. The area is the inside of this semicircle, therefore we do not need to add anything else to the formula. So now we have a half times pi times the radius, and remember that is half of the diameter, so that will be 4 squared. The area in this case will then be 25,13 centimeters squared. In the next video, we're going to have a look at shapes that consist of combinations of the square, rectangle, triangle, and circle.